Yay! Give thanks and praise. Welcome back, all you fabulous distance. Thanks for your time and consideration. All right. I have a few redactions to get to, a few addendums to make to particularly the last episode that I put on air. I made quite a few mistakes and I just want to clear them up real thoroughly. One is I misinformed overtly when I said that our buddy Walter Bosley, that he says that H.P. Lovecraft killed Houdini. That was so wrong of me. And Walter, if you ever watch this, I apologize for my cocksurety. That's a Walter Bosley joke. Yeah, I'm sure when he sees me in his comments, he's like, Slick Dissident. That sounds like a cocksurety kind of guy. That's one of his best lines. He talks about it all the time. And I totally fulfilled his worst nightmares when I said, Walter Bosley said that H.P. Lovecraft killed Houdini. That is not the gist of his works. And I totally misrepresented. So I want to maybe try to clarify and make remedy for that error. So that is top of my list. Walter, my bad. But before I forget, the other thing that I messed up, I just want to make that a quick note, is I kept saying the social contract. I kept using the term the social contract. And that was a total slip of the mind. And it is a leap of logic. It's a bad jump. You guys can come with me if you want to, but what I was looking at is what's the official website for the Great American Experiment. And I kept saying the social contract. There's some plausible deniability between those two thought forms. However, I think there is reason to make the association between the two, because they seem to be somewhat interchangeable in great and fascinating ways. There is no social contract. That's idealism. But the Great American Experiment is idealism, or no, empiricism. Because there's actually a printout of what the parameters are on the official website. There is no social contract. That's a Fugazi in idealism world. It's just something that people self-soothe with. So I wanted to clear that up. But everything other than my mispronouncing the title of the document, everything still stands theoretically in regards to Biden's speech about the greatest American experiment that we all just went through. You all should go read the Nuremberg Code hand in hand, and particularly pay attention to Section 5, where it says that if the administrators of the experiment are also participating, there's no liability. The liability's gone. And that takes on great context after what we all went through. But so Biden's comments were about the greatest American experiment. That is the document I was talking about. And people will tell you that he's just talking about elections, that's just elections. But when you go and read the terms and the conditions of what the Great American Experiment is described as, it also fulfills the social contract in this imaginary social contract in a most fascinating way, having a great deal to do with Leviathan, both Leviathans. So I want to make that clarity. And about the Houdini being assassinated by H.P. Lovecraft, one thing that's really vitriolic in the backdrop, we don't even have to talk about it, is H.P. Lovecraft's, this is not his card, H.P. Lovecraft's, his incredible racism. And what's wild is people overlook his racism for the sake of judging him by his labor, by the fruits of his labor, and not by his ideology. But that is in the background of H.P. and Houdini. Houdini was Jewish. And so there are, so Houdini is in the number 3. He's an achiever with a shadow of deceit. And H.P. Lovecraft is a number 6. He's a loyalist with a shadow of fear, in my assessment. Now, what happens is H.P. Lovecraft invites Houdini and his wife to dinner, and there is evidence that his wife was strongly poisoned. She had an overt heavy reaction for many days, and it's suspected that Houdini was also poisoned, but it didn't affect him as much as his wife. And while his stomach was still burdened with this possible poisoning, then Whitehead slips the sucker punch on Houdini that takes 5 days to kill him. So the sucker punch was actually on a stomach that was still conceivably on the mend from being poisoned by Houdini. Now, what's amazing, and I did a whole episode, maybe I'll link my own episode on Houdini, because I went in hard about this Hangman card is Houdini, because many reasons, but the Hangman card is in the global territories map, relates to Australia, the land down under. And so Houdini actually flew the first airplane ever in a crazy publicity stunt in the land down under. And in the publicity stunt, first of all, he flew the first plane, but then he also did some kind of Hollywood, Bollywood publicity stunt where he does a trick where it looks like he's flying a plane to catch a bad guy who has stolen a damsel, and he puts a rope out of his plane and climbs down the rope and lands on the bad guy's plane and saves the damsel, punches out the bad guy and crashes the plane in the land down under. So that's amazing, because the Hangman card was already in Australia before I found out about all this. So I wanted to clarify that, and big love and respect to Walter Bosley for all the work he does. I'm so sorry that I was hyperbolic. This is what I get for studying the word hyperbolic. All right, so yeah, Houdini and the Hangman are here and here, and so in some recent study, I discovered that Houdini has a museum in Scranton, Illinois. Now that doesn't line up on the map. That doesn't line up on the map in my read. Did I say Illinois again? Scranton, Pennsylvania. Why do I keep doing that? Sorry about that one. Yeah, Houdini, this card lines up in the United States map with the Bermuda Triangle in Florida, basically. So yeah, I wanted to make amends for those little details, but he's has a museum in Scranton. He's buried somewhere along the East Coast, but his wife, Bess, she actually died on a train heading out
back
west
to New York
and
to be
wanted very
buried with him.
desperately to be buried in the same cemetery as Houdini, but she was unable to. There's some classism stuff, something about Jewish burial rights. I don't know. So she's actually
buried
out west, and
35
Houdini is
miles
buried
due
out
north
east.
of his
And
grave.
they had a very well-known relationship. There's a lot of Oedipician implication, because Houdini was so close to his mom. He almost never complimented his wife without including his mother. All this weird stuff. He's buried with his mother's letters under his head, just like the halo on all the hangmans and the other decks. But Bess and Houdini had a promise that if there's a way to communicate from the afterlife, Houdini had a code phrase that he told her he would somehow get to her from the other side. So even though he was naysaying mediumship and paid H.P. Lovecraft to pay C. Me Eddie to write a whole book about the unfoundedness of mediumship, See Me Eddie is Twilight for See Me Die. See Me Eddie, who wrote the book that Houdini paid Lovecraft to write. Lovecraft paid See Me Eddie to write it. And then I think Houdini, he has to fake his death. You have to fake your death. Achiever with the shadow of deceit. and he dies on Halloween. Come on, y'all. That's right there with the Ophiuchus. Big time. It's heavy, heavy, heavy on the Ophiuchus. Plus, it said that his stomach had ruptured, like his spleen had blown out, or his pancreas, maybe. Well, that's totally Judas Iscariot's death uh, scene. The myth of the death of Judas Iscariot. Um, he falls down off a mountain and his entrails spill out. Houdini was right under Montreal, right at the foot of Montreal when he got the sucker punch. 5 days later, he travels south and then he dies from a ruptured spleen. That's totally like Judas Iscariot with his entrails spilling out. Well, all of this is cosmodramatically impeccable because that is the essence of the Ophiuchus card, is Judas's entrails spilling out between his legs. And this is why we carve the pumpkins. This is why you gut the pumpkins. And you take a strange pleasure in it. Some people like it. Some people go and gag in the bathroom when they see pumpkins getting gutted. All of this is Ophiuchus action to the max. All right. I'm going to go weird, y'all. I'm going to go weird. This is going to get weird. I'm going to talk about the scene where, let's see, how do we start? The scene where in Star Wars, the first time that Han Solo is betrayed by Lando Calrissian, who is a foreshadowing of Obama. The first time he's betrayed, got this betrayal of the Scorpio, and he goes. He meets Darth Vader for the first time, and he walks into that table, into the dining room, and Vader steals the laser. He blocks the laser beams and then steals his gun and takes them all hostage. Man, I have interpreted that scene into something so above and beyond. Even I exceed myself, which is terrifying. There is a story about a historic meeting between Goethe and Hegel. And I just learned about this back in August, that Goethe invited Hegel over for a tea party and had his sister-in-law attend the party. And essentially, Goethe intentionally did not explain who Hegel was when he came to the party. And he just let Hegel be Hegel without telling anybody what his name was. This is how the story is told. And Hegel goes on pontificating about his overly high idealized, vertiginous, burdensome idealism. And Goethe just kind of sits back and lets him hang himself. Goethe is more of an empiricist. And they have a little banter back and forth about how philosophy is, for the high class. And Goethe is always making very polite, tactical reminders about how philosophy and the high class are losing touch with nature. They're completely losing touch with nature. And they are talking about another philosopher named Hammon. And I'm going to get to that in a minute. But at the end of the tea party, Hegel leaves very politely. And after he leaves, Goethe turns to his daughter-in-law, and says, "What did you think about that guy?" And she's like, "I think that guy is full of shit. He loves his own voice." And he's like, take note of this, because this is the burdensome philosophy of the future that is going to move forward. It was Hegel was picked up and throttled by Napoleon eventually, And Goethe is like slipping a little message to his daughter-in-law to let everybody know that this is how everybody's going to be in the future, and there is a better way. There's a less hubristic uh, 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 lifestyle, engaging in philosophy, but not in that overly high ideal format. I see Goethe is the sun card in this situation, and I've always seen Hegel as this number 9. This is Hades. This is where your head is. This is where idealism is. Yeah. Uh, so that myth, that historical myth, it turns out at the end of the story, they always wait to the end to tell you, guess who the daughter-in-law was? It's Schopenhauer's uh, sister. Is that right? So Schopenhauer's sister, or maybe it's Schopenhauer's sister. It's his sister, I think. Uh-oh, hope I don't get that wrong. Her name is Adele Schopenhauer, and I, after learning that, I think back on Darth Vader doing the force grab on the laser beam and taking Chewie, Leia, and Han Solo hostage. And I'm looking at Princess Leia, and I'm looking at Adele Schopenhauer, and I'm looking at Princess Leia, and I'm looking at Adele Schopenhauer. They did her hair up perfectly to be Adele Schopenhauer. And that's profound because Yoda is Schopenhauer. It's so next level. It's so next level. And there's a part of me that actually puts Goethe, this is weird, I kind of have to put Goethe as Lando Calrissian. Yeah, I can't, I'm not sure. I'm going to say maybe. Yeah, these philosophers and their historical turning points are being immortalized way above anybody's head. I'm going to bring another. So that led me to study this guy that they were talking about at the dinner table, Hamon. I think I'm saying that right. Who is an idealist also, and very much impacted by Hume. So I go back and I'm reading about Hamon and Hume and Rousseau meeting up, and Immanuel Kant, and this convening of minds. And I'm looking back through Star Wars, and I kid you not, Uh, let's see, Han Solo is Hamon in the very first time in the cantina, the alien cantina, when they meet, and for the first time, let's see, here we go. Han Solo is Hamon, and Obi-Wan Kenobi is Kant, and Chewbacca is gonna be David Hume. He has the is-odd theory. It's the is-odd theory. And then, where is it? And then this will be Rousseau. So, yeah, the first time that Chewbacca, Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, and Obi-Wan Kenobi are meeting, this is like a card game. Look, I'm at the table, and I'm showing my cards. Showing the cards at the card game. I think they make a little bartering back and forth and agree on Hangar 94. I think they say Hangar 94, and I was like, ooh, if it was 93, it would have been Illuminati confirmed. But Hangar 94, or maybe 94 quib, is the amount that they agree upon. Well, that's fascinating because 94 is plutonium. Plutonium, right at the top. Okay. So yeah, Schopenhauer's, oh man, I think it's his sister who was the daughter-in-law of Goethe, and she's depicted in the scene where Lando Calrissian sells them off, betrays them, and they get taken captive by Darth Vader, who could be, I mean, Darth Vader is always Nietzsche to me, but Nietzsche has the shadow that he never addresses Hegel. Nietzsche, it's an amazing arc that he is like aggressively not mentioning Hegel. Almost like, how Stephen King never mentions 13 because he avoids number 13. He's actually reinforcing it by avoiding it subconsciously, that he's constantly dodging number 13, which is the sixth prime number. Okay, then uh, they put Han Solo in kryptonite. This is heavy duty. This is heavy duty. But this is also putting him in kryptonite, I think, is infusing idealism into culture for permanently, almost like the Napoleonic reset has blazed idealism into people. And this little fine nuance between idealism and uh, empiricism it's a fine line in all of our lives. But Han Solo gets put in kryptonite. In that scene, they're actually hailing famous art from a treatise at this Thessaly. There's some art. Yeah, it's all so the art painting, famous art paintings. They kind of break up the pieces and seed it into the scenery of him going into kryptonite. I won't go into those details because I don't really know what that means. But after he's in kryptonite, they separate his body from Princess Leia, and his body goes one way in the Sky City, and Princess Leia goes the other way. I think the Sky City is Goethe's hat, the hat of Goethe. So whole Sky City is his gray hat. But carbonite. Did I say kryptonite? I bet I did. He's encased in carbonite, and they send his body one way, and then they take Princess Leia. She's kind of the. I mean, I kind of have to do it this way, right? So, funny thing is, number 12 reduces to the 3. 3 is the second prime number. So these cards are first layer, presentational immediacy, second layer. But they take Han Solo's little carbonite and they send him this way, and then they take her and they go walking through the hallways where Luke Skywalker. Oh my gosh, this is kind of fun. I gotta admit. Do I have a cool card? Yep. Okay. Luke Skywalker is looking for her with this little R2D2 by his side, and she screams out, "Luke, don't follow me! It's a trap!" And one of the soldiers grabs her and uses her as a human shield. And they pew pew pew. They start blasting at each other. Huh. That is interesting. Rousseau. Okay. This is actually the Boba Fett card, the bounty hunter. But yeah, so the bounty hunter starts shooting at Luke. They take the girl hostage and they use her as a human shield. Now that part right there is, it's just showing how evil the bad guys are. But it also was drummed up when Saddam Hussein was killed. It doesn't matter what really happened. The story is that he used his wife as a human shield. He hid behind her. And that makes me think of the equinox. The equinox is right over the shoulder of the Virgin, taking that shot. And they've done this also. They're basically just reinforcing myth with cosmic truth, so that we'll take the shipburger down easier. But also, Gaddafi had 400 Amazon bodyguards. 400 Amazon bodyguards. That means he's reinforcing the Virgo and the hostage shot in the human shield of Virgo in the hostage shot of the equinox. He's reinforcing it times 400, Gaddafi. Also, I wonder about G.I. Gurchev and his Women of the Rope. I wonder if he was able to train women on incredible spycraft, Black Widow status. The entire Gurchev's Women of the Rope. Y'all should go watch Black Widow. All right. So, I have a lot of fun. I hope that tracks. I'll try to bring the graphics. But then I'm kind of thinking about Goethe in that big old gray hat, and I'm looking at Gandalf, and I'm like, dang. Yeah, that big gray hat is very iconically Goethean. So, yeah, I also ponder if this is the split between continental and analytic. I wonder if the Hegelian forwarding is what we are seeing today in analytic, but I wonder if the continental is kind of like it's kind of grounded. It's kind of, well, it's grounded. It fits its name in the strangest of ways. But I wonder if Goethean empiricism is kind of holding more deeper roots in continental, and I wonder if that Hegelian is kind of presaging what became analytic. Yeah, I just love these splits, these cordial disagreements, you know. And Goethe has a quote where he says, you know, it's the places where we agree with each other, you're not getting anywhere. You know, you surround yourself with people who tell you what you want to hear. Good luck moving in life. It's actually the discomfort and the disagreement where progress really happens, you know. And he says that it is in dissent where we really find progress, something along those lines. And man, when I saw that line, I was like, oh my gosh, that reminds me of Gandalf getting swept off the stage against the Ragnar. Run, you fools! I was like, oh my gosh, his dissent made the work get done. Yeah. So, all right. Get back on the program here. I'm just kind of rambling through. Oh, where's my notes? Here we go. All right. So, Schopenhauer. Oh. Not done. See? I'm not done. So they take, they separate Princess Leia from Han Solo. Here we go. Yeah, nope. Doggone it. They separate Princess Leia from Han Solo. Han Solo goes one way in his Carbonite. He's Hangman Houdini. He's Hangman Houdini. And he's also a time capsule. He's out of context for a prolonged period. And they use Princess Leia as a human shield, and they drag her away from him. That reminds me of Bess on the train.
Dying on a train on the way back to New York.
Heading out west, far away from where she buried Houdini, and wanting to come back to him. And they had a promise in the afterlife that they would communicate with each other. And she gets buried
35
out west
miles due north.
That keeps her in discomfort, disease, and Houdini's on the other side of the country.
Is buried in an ideologically opposed cemetery.
Yeah, and then when they come back together, they're in Boba Fett's lair for the first time, and you know, Han Solo's eyes can't see, and they're basically spoon-feeding everybody the Plato's Cave, the story of Plato's Cave, and it is echoed in the Matrix later, you know. All right, yeah, so fun. So Mandela effect, the Hellenic rewrite. I'm going to buzz on this, and then I'm going to call it. So, Constantine made his mother patroness saint of difficult marriages and, difficult weddings and archaeology. The more I turn this gem over in my worldview, the more I see the largest formula that we could all benefit from. And so Helen went out on a pilgrimage to Jerusalem. The question is, which Jerusalem? Barcelona, New Testament Jerusalem, or Jerusalem from the Old Testament? That's a good question. And she claims to have discovered the cross upon which the Christ was buried. It would be utterly profound if she actually went to Barcelona for this. It's so profound if that's the case. Tom Carberry has a channel on YouTube that has made the most fascinating claim that Barcelona is actually New Testament location for those. All those events are actually describing Catalan and Barcelona. And I'm inclined to say there is something there. There is something there. But Helen goes and she discovers the Tau cross. And this is telling everybody, hey, you all had it wrong. Mandela effect. You all had it wrong. You can't even trust your own mind. Because the real cross was a Tau, capital T. You spelled it wrong. You spelled it wrong. It's the Tau, capital T cross. And there's this huge retcon. She retcons the Bible with a capital T. And then it's crusade time. Everybody's like, don't mess with my lowercase t. She's like, nope, sorry, capital T's better. It's uppercase. And it's crusade time because she retconned the shape of their idol. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going on every moment of every day now. They have really cranked it up. This is the Mandela effect. The capital T is the symbol of trademark. Trademark. And if it's trademark captured, then they can switch definitions right in front of your eyes and your feet never touch the ground. One good example of the capital T of the trademark. Now listen, I want to put this hazard out in the forefront. This does not mean everything with the capital T is the fingerprint of Helen. It's not what I'm at. However, this trademark is highly correspondent to the patent office. Einstein was a secretary at the patent office. Nikola Tesla's information was squandered off into oblivion, and maybe by the relative of the reincarnation of Patton. A lot of folks will tell you about Chump and Patton, General Patton, and he thought he was reincarnated Alexander the Great. So, this trademark spell to get you to second guess your own memory is the Hellenic difficult weddings and archaeology. Also, when you see silly kangaroo breakdancing girl on the first breakdancing in the Olympics ever, Olympics is totally Helen's zone. That's Helen's jam, y'all. It's a Hellenic invasion, I'll tell you what. You get this goofy girl doing the kangaroo dance and everybody smacks the face. That is the lame spell. The lamer it is, the deeper you bury it in your archaeology. You bury it in your archaeology because it was a difficult marriage. It's a difficult wedding. The word in Antiodromia is difficult wedding. And it gets buried in your subconscious. You just take it for granted. It becomes a self-canceling, trite cliche. Which, like I was saying about when I tell everybody they're on some these ideas have us. This is the objective truth of the homunculus is way bigger than, oh, it is what you make of it. The ideas have us. We don't have the ideas. We don't have the privilege of making it something else. Self-canceling cliches. The word Middle East is the best example of a self-canceling trite cliche because every time you said it, you were saying my idol least. My idol least. And I'm not into idolatry. However, I know that that's a number 9, that this is the idealism, this is the head, it is what you make of it. But also, it self-cancels. My idol, the least, is the self-canceling of it. And you thought you were saying something else. That's because it's just a trite cliche. And they hammer it over and over and over. And I'm sure it weighs on your karma. Some people are more dialed to that than others. Words have meaning. The capital T, every time I see it, I hold a place for the possibility that the Hellenic invasion is afoot. And this Mandela effect and the recalls happening all week last week, yeah, y'all. Fortify your temples. Fortify your temples and watch your words closely. Be intimate with your words, not like me. My last video, I was not being intimate with my words. I screwed up and I misspoke, and I very much love and respect. I want to honor Walter Bosley's work. I actually hope he never comes and finds my channel because I'm such a cocksure son of a bitch. So yeah, I just want to make amends for speaking with a low fidelity to the truth that I really wanted to bring forward. And yeah, I just wanted to come correct. All right, general relativity. General relativity. 1919. Einstein gives us general relativity from an experiment with two different astronomers, one in South America, one in South Africa, and the one in South America, I think. No, maybe the one in Africa. He has some troubles with the story is completely true to its time. That there were indigenous people who actually ruined the camera and the equipment so they couldn't even run the experiment. I think that was the African one. And then they did get a read on seeing Mercury past the sun from South America, is where general relativity came into play. And they were looking at Mercury bend the light around the sun because of the gravity. Gravity. Right now, we are passing out of a fascinating meteor shower. And I am loving what I'm learning. I am loving what I'm learning. At the moment, the sun is pretty much through Serpens, Caput, Hercules, Ophiuchus, moving into Lyra in the upcoming weeks with the sun, the planchette of the daytime sun in the morning. And then we're moving into our Altair over the next month or so. At this time, we are coming out of the Monoceros meteor showers, which seem to be kind of a narrow, I think that's right. Monoceros is a narrower window, but it's overlaid by a second larger window in another segment of the sky. So at this time, we actually have kind of two meteor showers overlapping, one with a lower grade wide window and one with a maybe a more rapid fire shorter window. They're happening in two places in the sky. So Monoceros is happening over underneath Orion, with the Puppis constellation and the printing press and the Christmas tree nebula is lighting up for the next. I think it died out. Monoceros just died out. However, the whole time there is a longer window of a different meteor shower. It's the Leonid meteor showers. Ladies and gentlemen, we are looking at the story of Mercury singing Argos to sleep. This is the cosmodrama of Mercury singing Argos to sleep. Argos constellation is a minor deacon of Leo up here at the top. And this is the sun's getting low, big fella. This is Incredible Hulk with his modulation word to make him go to sleep, to reduce down to Bruce Banner. And as we're moving out of Scorp into Ophiuchus, that's kind of like Mercury. He's using music as a sedation spell to sedate Argos. And Argos's 100 eyes are slowly closing. And so for the Leonid meteor showers to be popping off at this time of year, I think we are looking at Mercury sings Argos to sleep. And then he chops his head, and Hera turns him into the pavo, the peacock constellation. And we will be moving into that over the next month. I find this really neat to know that this is the time where it's almost like I'm watching the chef. I'm like looking at a camera from above. I can't see the chef, but I can see him grabbing herbs and spices and throwing things together. And after I see a couple of the spices and the cracks an egg in there, I'm like, oh, he's making an omelet. I already know he's making an omelet. I don't have to see it get finished. I know that this is going to become an omelet. And those are the ingredients that I'm seeing dance around in the sky right now. And what it means is really fascinating. I'm thinking about general relativity, singing Argos to sleep, getting people to just take on face value that we're all in this together, all the collectivism, and the general relativity. They're watering down ownership. They're watering down the family. The only true possession in this world is the letter S. And it has to do with your family. And your last name used to be the action that your family did. Your last name used to be your future tense verb. And they are eroding that away over and over and over. This number 8, the controller with the shadow of greed, remedial virtue of sympathy. The 8th prime is 19. 19th letter is S. S is the letter of possession. In all the ways, not just apostrophe S. Even when you make something plural, it belongs to the group. General relativity is working this down, working it away. And people do DNA testing to start believing they don't belong where they thought they belonged. They belong to something more externalized than ever. There's a strange addiction to externalizing. Sounds like I got a guest. All right. I'm going to answer that call. Big love and respect, everybody. That was a long run. I don't think I finished, but maybe we'll come back real soon. All right. Let's see who that is. Big love and respect. All right. Yeah. FedEx. Interrupting. All right. This is such a wildest weave of all time. Ever since I moved into these meteor showers, I tell you what. All right. I just need to close this off. So I'm studying the Leonid meteor shower, and apparently in 1833 is when it really came on the radar, and all hell was breaking loose in that time. And a long story short, that meteor shower was taking great significance in the minds of quite a few people. Were making note of it in their personal journals at that time. So it is a shared experience from different cultures around the world that the Leonid meteor showers in 1833 were so monumental. And the Mormons were being kicked out of Missouri. They were on the run. They were refugees. And Missouri actually had some kind of weird, I'm not going to speak impeccably, I'm going to speak very vaguely or just slightly inaccurate because, I'm no authority on this. So the Mormons were on the run, and there's a kind of like an APB issued by the state of Missouri to scuttlebutt these Mormons out of here. Probably had to do with Pinkertons that don't get enough airplay in history, chasing off the Mormons and keeping Missouri Mormon free for a prolonged period. But the Mormons had a prophecy that someday they would come back to Missouri. And only recently, I think it was in 2017, Missouri dissolved that APB. There was some statement on the record, on the public record, preventing the return of the Mormons. And the Mormons always said that someday they would come back. Someday they would repopulate Missouri. And Missouri is CIA Central, y'all. CIA Central. They love to retire in Missouri. And they name it Missouri so that you won't consider it the promised land. Or maybe it's an pessimist's promised land. Maybe that's it. It's a pessimistic promised land. But they have sworn to return. And sure enough, this Leonid meteor shower in 1833 was when they foretold the return of their Christ. The second coming of the Mormons was rooted in the Leonid meteor shower that is popping off right now. And I would say that general relativity has sung the collective masses of Argos quite to sleep. The last final eye is closed, and now it's time for the chopping of the head of Argos, the 100-eyed giant. Yeah, that's happening in the sky right now. A lot of prophecies, whole lot of prophecies popping off, y'all. All right, that was the last thing I wanted to say. And I got a lot of people out in Missouri. I got a lot of friends out in Missouri. Yeah, things are going to only become increasingly interesting as, you know, this is that classic uh, uh, bait and switch of, oh, you thought this idol was your salvation, and then Mandela effect comes along and rewrites everything you thought you had. Another example of this is, you know, we have the Second Amendment right to bear arms, bear arms. So everybody goes out and they get their bear arms. They think they're all good, and then the state decides, oh, no, 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 those are fire arms. No, 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 those are bear arms. No, those firearms. No, they're bear arms. No, those are firearms. Firearms is a trademark capture. They trademark capture. And you could make a case, you could try to freeball it, but I've heard really good advice. This is not legal advice, this is lawful notice, that it is a good idea to get your affidavits to anticipate the blanket of presumption that will be laid on your property. And that blanket of presumption is the word fire in front of the word arms. And the word firearms is an anagram for serraFim. Trademark capture, y'all. Get your affidavits ready. Anticipate these moves. All right, I'm going to shut up now. Big love and respect.